Guys, what's going on? Welcome to hashtag TNT JoeFi, tech news that Jerome Ortega finds interesting. I am your host, Jerome Ortega. Today is Wednesday, October 14th. How's it going, everyone? How you doing? We doing good today? There's a lot of tech news going on today, isn't there? Pixel 4a 5G embargo is lifted, so everybody's putting their videos out for people who have the phone, saying whether they like it or not. I have seen zero videos about it, so I have no idea if they've been saying good things or bad things, but we're going to watch a couple videos today. I don't know if we're going to watch all of them because there's also the OnePlus 8T. And I don't know. I don't even, is it wrong for me to say that I don't really care much about the 8T at this point? Like, I don't know. Is it worth $750? Is the OnePlus 8T worth $750? Or are you just better off buying the OnePlus 8 for much cheaper at this point? Well, did they drop the price of the OnePlus 8? Or is that $700? I don't know. And then what else? iPhone 12. Yesterday I said I wanted to buy the mini, but now I kind of want a mini and I kind of want a max. I want both to test out the cameras. That's really the only reason, is to just test out the cameras. But we're going to watch a couple of these videos, see if the Pixel 5 is really living up to its price point. I was talking to someone earlier today. I don't know if that person wants to be named, but ended up canceling his Pixel 5 order Well, actually, I don't know if he's done it for sure yet, but we're going to talk about it today. Get through a couple thoughts, feelings about the phones, see where we're at. So let me go ahead and say hi to everybody who's already in here. You guys are crazy lately. Just spending time here, saying what's up, chatting. I appreciate it. Manuel, so many Pixel 5 camera reviews. I haven't seen any of them yet. I'm looking forward to it. Brian, yes, but they aren't Jerome's camera review. I don't trust half of them. Thank you. I'm so touched, Brian. Brian, Manuel, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Subscriber, if it weren't for the speakers, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. So this is the thing that a lot of people are talking about, is that top speaker on the Pixel. I don't have a Pixel 5. This is my Pixel 4. The top speaker here. Look at that go crazy over here. Goddamn Pixel 4. So the top speaker for the Pixel 5 is under the display. People have been saying that it hasn't been the greatest. I don't have one, so I can't give you my opinion on it. But from what I've been hearing, I heard it's not as good as a real top external speaker, which is a shame. Is it a deal breaker for me? It could be. I'm a big fan of external speakers. I don't like having my shit sound muffled. Especially, yeah, I don't like having my shit sound muffled. We'll see. Chad, Renick. Chad, what's going on? Subscriber, did I say hi? Hi, subscriber. We have a very busy show today. So you know how I do. You know I go through all the chats usually, and it takes like 45 minutes. And then by the end of the hour, I've only gone through half of a story. But I'm going to try to say hi, and then we'll try to get into these videos. Chad, any word on the OnePlus N10? Not that I know of. I don't know what I didn't even watch the live stream today for the OnePlus 8T. So I don't really know what's going on in the OnePlus world. I'm not the most impressed with OnePlus at this moment. So I don't know. Hey, Jerome. Hey, subscriber. It's all about the funny. Yes. Yes. Have I seen you in here before? I don't know if I have. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Manuel says, well, hopefully they're not as bad as they make. The S sim as they make. I'm confused. Edgar Hernandez, what's up? What's up? What's going on, Edgar? Nice to see you again. Adam, nice to see you as well. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody coming in, saying hi. Appreciate it. Pixel Edgar in the house. What's good, Pixel Jerome? Not much, man. Just trying to make it through another day, as usual. My Pixel 5 is being delivered tomorrow. I didn't know the UK was getting it earlier. Or are you a tech influencer who's getting it? Or is it just arriving early in the UK? I wasn't aware of that. I had no idea. Team Vari on Facebook. What up, Jerome? What up, Team Vari? What's going on, man? How you doing? You're also on YouTube. Thanks for coming on both streams. Man, if I didn't have such limited funds, I'd order all the Pixels. Hi, everyone. I don't know if I'd order all. Well, yeah, I would order all of them. I have all of them, or I have ordered all of them. The woo! You changed your avatar. I love all your different hellos. Brobocop, what's up, man? Sorry about the watch comment yesterday. My dad has the same Casio calculator. It's not a calculator watch, goddammit. Just a regular. I love this watch. It's great. I have a gold version too. I don't know where it is. Stefan, the woo, hello. Hello, sir. What's going on, Stefan? Welcome. All right, I gotta catch up to this. Leo's in the house. Android stud, what's going on? Eating food for you. Thank you. I'm not eating until tomorrow, so. Android stud, is the Huawei P40 Pro Plus worth $1,400? No, it is not. It is not. Where is my phone? Oh, it's over there. By the way, I spent $1,325 on it, so not exactly $1,400. Still not worth it. Tana so lit. Tana and Leo both together. Guys, what's going on? Pixel 5 squad on deck. What's going on, Tana? So I know Leo has the Pixel 5. Tana, you got the Pixel 5 too? All you guys with the Pixel 5s. I ain't got shit. Subscriber says, imagine if the 5 had front-facing stereo speakers. We can only dream. We can only dream, subscriber. Kyle Brass, what's going on? What up, TNT Joe 5 fam? What up? What up, Phone Jerome fam? Yeah, they're both fam. They're both fam. Daniel Lufker, hey, what's going on, Daniel? You see Daniel's avatar there? I took that picture. Aiden Brockman, OnePlus 8T, 550 euros versus the 4A 5G at 499. Is that what the 8T is selling for? 550 euro? Where you're at? Isn't that super cheap? Right? That's super cheap, isn't it? Joshua, SXM, Aiden, I don't know if you want me to answer that question, but I don't know. Depends if you want a good camera or not. Otherwise, the other specs on the 8T at that price is pretty good, I think. Joshua, what's going on? What's good? What's good, man? What's going on? How you doing? Paulius Indralunis. Am I saying that right? Hey, everyone. Picking up my one tomorrow. So excited. Your OnePlus 8T? Which one? What are you picking up tomorrow, Paulius? Let me know. Bert Kuhn with another $5 super chat. Bert Kuhn, you're crazy, man. And yesterday, also, by the way, yesterday, you guys were crazy with the super chats. Thank you guys so much for the love, for the support. I do appreciate it. I'm so very thankful for the community and what we've built here together. I appreciate it. I hope you guys see the effort that I put into these streams daily. Bert Kuhn says, I might change my mind to keep using the Pixel 4a for my Android device and order the iPhone 12. I feel like if at $800, you get more with the iPhone 12. So that is a conversation I had today. I had a conversation about that today. The way this conversation went was, I think I'm canceling my Pixel 5. The iPhone 12 is just such a better phone. Google made a mistake releasing the Pixel 5 so much later. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think the iPhone 12 is a better worth phone than the Pixel 5? That is a conversation I was going to have, but I don't know where my head is with that yet. I really don't. I want the Pixel 5 to be the phone. I don't know if it's going to be. I think the iPhone 12 is going to give the Pixel 5 a good run for its money. I don't know if it's going to hand its ass easily, but it might. Nestor, what's going on, Nestor? Let's take a shot every time Jerome says the Pixel 5 isn't worth $699. The Pixel 5 is not worth $699. You're about to get drunk, son. What's going on, Nestor? Sorry, I missed your chat earlier. Adil Raza, do you see the Nexus line coming back? No. I mean, I would love for it to come back, but maybe they'll do it as like a throwback and they've realized that they've tarnished the Pixel name and they're going to bring the Nexus back, but I really don't see it coming back. But you never know. The A series technically could be the Nexus line, right? So, Parth Gupta, Adil, welcome. Parth Gupta, you don't like your shit sound muffled? I do not. Parth, what's going on, man? Ed Cruzat, sad at the reviews on the Pixel 5's video recording. You guys are rooting for me. I haven't seen any of these videos yet, but thank you for the heads up. Ed, welcome. That is unfortunate to hear. I don't like hearing that, but I guess we'll see. Jevon Sims, what's up, Jerome? What do you think about the 8T's picture quality? I haven't watched anything. Guys, literally, I've been working all night. Like last night, I was working on a video for 8+ hours, and I ended up publishing it at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And then today, I had my like morning job, and then I've just been very busy. So I haven't had a chance to even see anything at this point. This is what today's for. We're going to catch up. Craig Glover still got the Pixel 5 coming, but man, I'm nuts. How many times am I seeing this now? Everyone keeps saying this. I just know it'll be solid apart from that speaker. Should be here tomorrow. So the UK is getting it early, right? You guys are getting it 2 weeks before I am. I'm jealous. Kyle Brass, I don't think Carl Pei is impressed with OnePlus right now, which explains the exodus. I mean, I'm not impressed with OnePlus right now. I mean, if they offered me a job, like I'd be like, yo, let's get that camera working. Let's put stock Android back on there. Bam, number one company again. Sean, what's going on, man? Welcome. Nice to see you, man. Nice to see you, Sean. Vince Wong, am I saying that right? I'm considering the iPhone 12. Is there a YouTube advanced alternative? For iOS, I don't know if there is. I really don't. You're on that YouTube advanced. What was I going to say? Flow, Stride. I don't know what I'm saying, but I don't know if there is one for iOS. I'm not sure. Vince, welcome to the stream, though. Welcome. Aiden says the OnePlus 8T is cheaper in Europe because they have the 128 gig model here in the US. We only have the 256 gig model. Oh, I was not familiar with that. Not aware. Pratyush Sharma. Hi, Jay. Hi, Pratyush. Hi, P. What's going on, man? Welcome. Subscriber says, I think the 12 is better overall phone, but I'm not a fan of Apple and iOS. That's fair. I mean, I feel similar, but it looks like the iPhone 12 is primed to be a pretty solid phone, it looks like. Brian, I use Android, but iPhone 12 is better than the Pixel 5. Brian just like flat out says it. Brian, also with the $1 super chat. Brian, thank you so much for the love and the support, man. Thank you for being a regular super chatter on the daily, on the week daily. Thank you, man. I appreciate it as always. Let me see here. Sean says the iPhone 12 is no different from any iPhone, and the Pixel 5 is no different than the Pixel 4a 5G. That's well said. That's well said. I can dig that. Alan Stevenson, what's up, man? Sup, Jerome? I feel the non-pro iPhone 12 for 100 more offers so much more than the Pixel 5. So I feel very similarly, and I think a couple of you are feeling similar as well. I'm just waiting for some camera reviews. The Pixel 4 and 5 shots look the same. So someone else mentioned that to me as well. I haven't watched any of these videos, but we're going to watch them and talk about that. Alan, welcome. It's kind of unfortunate hearing all this stuff because it's not really what I wanted to hear. Mr. Russell, what up, Pixel J? As bad as I want to buy the 5, I think I'll stick with my 3A XL. Let's see what the 5A will look like. I don't blame you, man. Pratyush decided to buy the iPhone 11, getting it for $700 with AirPods free on festive offer. What's festive offer? On October 17th. Pretty good price for India. Sounds like a good price. Definitely sounds like a good price. William Maya, sup everyone? What's going on, William? Welcome to the stream, man. Nice to have you as always. Craig says, yes, the release here is the 15th. I'll let you know if the speakers are trash. Please let me know. Jerome, rest of the phone I think will be a fine upgrade from the 2. Definitely. Skipping the Pixel this year. Will ordered the Pixel, and now he's skipping it. What up, Will? What's going on, man? Zane Baig. Yo, what up, everyone? The OnePlus 8T in America also has 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. So I didn't know that. So 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage. Is that starting at $749? Can you guys let me know if that's what the price is? Okay. Today, though, we are going to talk about the Pixel 5. We're going to watch a couple of videos. I'll give you my thoughts. Tana, man. Tana with a $5 super chat. I have the Pixel 5 in my hands, and I can judge. So far, it's a beast. People who don't have it, get it before you have an opinion. Damn, Tana's just throwing some truth there. So I'm glad to hear that, Tana. It's very hard for me to not feel a certain way after seeing things, whatever. But the one thing that I'm waiting for on the Pixel 5 is the feel of the phone, like the small form factor, right? Like on my 4A. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to have that in my hands for the Pixel 5. But I hear you calling it a beast. What about those speakers, though? I'm just a little worried about it. I guess I really don't. It's hard for me to say because I don't have one and I won't be able to listen to it. And maybe it's not a big a deal, but I don't know. Zico Day says, seen some camera reviews for A5G is the one. Tana, by the way, thank you, man. Thank you for always showing some support, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Tana. Thank you, guys. If you guys don't know, Tana is a YouTuber. Feel free to check him out. He does a lot of good shit. Check his channel out. Tana So Lit. Check him out. Myron Gaines. Yes. Hi, Myron. What are we yesing to? But welcome, Myron. Welcome, welcome. Anthony Scalisi, what's going on? My only gripe is they're letting everyone catch up in the camera department. Yes. Well said. A few years ago, they were definitely the best. This speaker nonsense scares me too, coming from the 3 with 2 front-firing speakers. So that's the one thing I'm talking about. That, Anthony, you say that really well, because the way I feel about it is, yes, excellent camera year over year, but I don't think they're doing enough to improve while everyone else catches up. I'm with you on there for sure. Bert Kuhn says Google made a bad release to shipping the Pixel behind the iPhone 12. Yes, this is what I talked about yesterday. The fact that Apple announced their iPhones and the fact that my iPhone, the iPhone I'm going to buy or order, is going to come before my Pixel makes zero sense to me. The fact that the Pixel got announced September 30th and I won't be seeing it for another month, just, yeah, I'm with you. All right, guys, I got to start scrolling down because we got to get into this. We're 20 minutes in already. Hi, Pixel Jerome. Hi, Pixel Tony Pazzo iPhone. Hi, Tony. What's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Let me see here. Ted, what's going on, Ted? Don't worry, Jerome. You'll get your Pixel 5 before you know it. No, I won't. Dugameister. Tana forgot to add hashtag Team Pixel. What's going on, Dugameister? Fear the Roof 42. Hey, Jerome. 11th to like the video. My video? Thank you. Where's my cookie? I don't have anything right now. I'm sorry. Next time. Thoughts? iPhone 11, 128 gigs for $649, or the iPhone 12 mini. 128 versus 64. Camera is my number one. Battery, 1A. That's a tough question because for me, the iPhone 12 mini at $699 or $729 if you buy it unlocked, which makes zero sense. So for me, 64 gigs of internal storage versus 128, that's like a no-go for me. I have to get at least 128, but that's me. If internal storage isn't a big deal, if the camera is your number one, maybe the 12 mini. You won't get the same battery though as the 11. That's a tough call, man. I wouldn't worry too much about 5G. I really wouldn't worry even too much about A14 unless like you really need that processing power. But if you're keeping it for 2 to 3 years, I'm sure an 11 is going to do you fine. But the 12 mini will probably give you a better camera overall. I don't know if that helps. That's a good question. I don't know. Tana says, as an audio professional, I don't have any problems with the sound of the speakers. Really? I mean, you are. I mean, Tana is an audio professional. I guess I'll have to wait and see how those speakers turn out. We'll wait and see. Thank you though. Thank you, Tana. Thank you for showing or sharing some feedback on that. Because that's the one thing that I've been wondering about a lot lately. The 4A 5G definitely seems like the best value to the money. Yes, that's what I've been saying for a while now. Curse my love of higher refresh rate screens. Don't regret pre-ordering the Pixel 5. There you go. Lou, I ordered the Pixel 5, then canceled, then ordered again. That doesn't seem efficient, Lou. Pixel 5 doesn't disappoint on the battery and speakers. Or you're hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping to. Jevon says, if it makes you feel any better, MKBHD doesn't have his Pixel 5 either, and he gets his stuff early. Why is that? Why doesn't he have it yet? That doesn't make sense to me. Days one. I don't know if the Pixel 5 will be an upgrade from the 4XL I have here. Days one, by the way. Hi. What's going on, Days one? How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. That's a question I've been posing as well. Is the 5 an upgrade to the 4XL? Tony says, I did the speaker test. It's louder than the 4A. The top speaker? Louder than the 4A? Or are you saying overall sound? You got to clarify here, Tony. I'd like to know. Jennifer Cho, Google's release and launch of the 4A was so frustrating when I heard about it and was interested in that phone. I mean, if anything, Jennifer, hi, by the way, if anything, it's giving you some time now to think about what your next device is going to be, right? You got to put a positive spin on things. William Maya says, well, everyone quote unquote caught up with the Pixel camera. Google's still on par or better in that department than any other Android phones that cost $300 to $500 more. Can't speak to the iPhone though. That's a good point. That is a good point. All right, guys, we need to get to the other. We need to get to these videos here. I'm going to get to them. I'm just like looking at the other chats. People are canceling pre-orders for the Pixel 5 in Germany. Pre-order is popping up time to time in the Google store. Good for Google. Somebody's taking the Pixel 5 immediately. It's true. That's true. Will says, because he don't want it. MKBHD doesn't want it. He's using his 12 Pro Max. Savage, bro. The top is muffled. That's what I've been hearing. So Bert says, I sent an email to Droid Life, asked them about the 5 speaker, and they emailed me back, told me the top speaker is not good. Not very good. All right, we got to get into these stories. I know, we got to get into it. I love that you guys are in here and chatting, and I want to get through everything, but it's hard to like get through this hour. Still waiting for the 4A. Fingers crossed. Tech to me, please. Hope you get it soon. Jason, what's up, man? Yo, it's your phone. You won't be surprised if Google sticks with dual cameras and a 12.2 megapixel yet again. Oh, and a removed charger. Jason, what's going on, man? How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for that feedback. Hero Plane, what's up? Pixel 5 camera looks pretty promising. Also, the speaker isn't as bad as we thought. The front one is just very, very weak compared to the bottom one. Tana says, and people, remember, it's a smartphone, not a kicker box. That's also a good point. It's just, here's the thing. This is the way I feel about it is I know what these phones can provide in the speaker department. So that's my issue with it. My issue is I still feel like they should have put an external speaker up top instead of putting it under the display, but maybe I should reserve my judgment. I don't know. Tony says overall sound. I made a video with the sound meter. So to me, it sounds like you're saying that the top speaker still isn't that good, but the overall sound is okay. If you watch This Is Tech Today, the Pixel 5 speakers are bad. He shows it on his review, On the Pixel 5, if you cover up the bottom speaker, the top sounds horrible. The overall sound is all right. All right, guys, let's go ahead. I don't have that video on deck, but I have one of my favorites here. Tony says, Jerome, I promise the sound is good. I believe you, Tony, but I still need that phone first. We're gonna watch a couple of videos. I have this video from Dave Lee. I do trust Dave's opinion. Doesn't mean I always agree with it, but I haven't watched any of these videos. So let's see.
So this is my review of the Google Pixel 5.
Let's get into it.
I will briefly touch on the Pixel 4a 5G as well, but this video is primarily going to be focused on the Pixel 5. Right.
So do all the bigger YouTubers, did they get both phones then? Is that how that works? So the guys who have more subscribers get the 5, the 4a 5G, the Pixel Buds, the Pixel Stand, the Pixel. That's what it looks like.
Right off the rip, I really like this phone, like a lot. They've done so much right with it. The one thing that I dislike about it, I'm just going to front load this video with the negative about this phone. I feel like this shouldn't be priced at $700.
Thank you. I've been saying this shit all day. I mean, it doesn't matter that Dave agrees with me here. It's just, I just hate that sometimes I sound like I'm talking to myself or no one else agrees with that. But, well, no, I know a lot of my audience, a lot of my chat agrees with me on that. But yes, it's not worth 700.
I wish this was a $600 phone. Now, I
Yes.
understand that Google puts their phones on sales constantly, right? And when it does go on sale, I could see this thing hitting $600, but it is a $700 phone for all intents and purposes. So this video has to be framed around that. Let's start with aesthetics. I absolutely love the aesthetics of this phone. It feels nice in your hand. It's one hand operable because
so that's the thing that I've been waiting for. That's one of the reasons I really wanted this phone, is for the one-handed form factor. I like the feel of my Pixel 4a. I think it's one of the perfect sizes for a phone, at least for me.
of its smaller size, and it also has this nice thin symmetrical bezel that goes around the whole device. And this characteristic of that thin symmetrical bezel is not easy to kind of showcase properly in a video. You look at these images and it looks nice, but when you see it in real life and you watch videos on it, there's something about this symmetry and just the narrow bezel that makes
it looks great,
look quite nice on this
it does.
display. Now, in terms of the material finish, it is a plastic coated metal body. It's a personal preference thing. I really like it, but I can see why a lot of people would.
Wait. A plastic coated metal body? What are we talking about here? So it's metal and then they put a plastic coating over it. Is that what he's saying? Is that how that works? Why does that sound so goddamn confusing?
Like, it doesn't feel like an ultra premium finish. It feels like plastic. It feels like a very tanky plastic phone, but it is metal underneath that top layer of plastic. Now,
okay, why though? Why do that? Why not just make it feel metal? Why put a plastic coating on top of it? Is there a reason for that? Am I missing something here? Why add a coating to it when it could have just been a metallic feeling phone? One of the things I like about like phones like that is like the cold aluminum feel to it. Maybe that's subjective, but I would rather have a phone feel that way than plasticky.
They're able to wirelessly charge this thing. There's probably a cutout in that area, I'm sure, but the wireless charging works really well, even going through that metal material. The fingerprint sensor mounted on the back, and this is a great spot. I feel like a lot of people appreciate rear-mounted fingerprint sensors. It's fast, gets into the device without any issues. I do wish there was a face unlock. Like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss it,
because is that why?
So many other flagships and semi-flagship phones have some kind of face biometric to get into phones, but the Pixel 5 doesn't, despite it having a perfectly usable front-facing camera looking right at me when I want to open up that phone. Now, the rest of the screen is awesome. Like the ultra clean bezels I was talking about previously, and the flat edges are something I appreciate. And the image quality of the screen is also quite good. It's bright, good color accuracy. The 4A 5G has a slightly warmer screen, and the 5 has like a more natural color.
So let me just get back into this real quick. This is one of those things where it really, for a lot of people, you're not going to really notice display differences or whatever unless you have the goddamn phone side by side. I mean, if you want the best of the best, yes, spend the extra money on the Pixel 5, better refresh rate, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times I feel like most people don't even notice things like that. But if you're like me or people in the chat and we're like very tech nerdy, kind of like want the best of the best, but this is why I always feel like the 4A 5G is going to be, well, it is. It's the better buy. It's the better buy.
And the 5 has like a more natural color, but yeah, both screens are good. Now, the biggest difference between them is the presence of a 90 hertz panel on the Pixel 5. I have talked about this previously in other videos. I think high refresh phone screens are nice, but they're certainly not super important. I feel like it's something that, like, if you look on YouTube, most of the tech YouTubers and the enthusiasts of the phone world appreciate it because it's something you can see, right? And when you hold two phones side by side, you have a 60 hertz and a 90 hertz, and you're flipping through the UI. It's like the 90 hertz screen or the 120 hertz screen. It's like, wow, it's so fast. But the reality of usage, like, what are you actually using your phones for?
Thank you.
High refresh phone screens don't really play a huge role in how we experience our phones.
Thank you. I'm glad. See, this is why, like, I appreciate Dave Lee, because I feel like he's a lot more honest about how these phones are. He just doesn't rage like I do. He doesn't go off the handle like I do. Do I notice the 90 hertz on my Pixel 4? Yeah. When do I notice at 90 hertz? When I scroll through the app drawer. That's probably the only time I really ever noticed the 90 hertz. I am sure if I maybe paid more attention, maybe it would be a bigger deal. Like I'd notice the 90 hertz, I'd notice the 120 hertz. But like it's not, to me, it's not a deal breaker. Refresh rate is not a deal breaker. I feel like omit that, put it on something else that's maybe more worthwhile on a phone, like upgrade the camera. But that's just me.
Because we're usually looking at a still image, right? Unless you're weird and you're like watching YouTube videos and you like to scrub your UI while you're watching YouTube videos, or you're like scrolling through Reddit and somehow you can read while it's moving. The reality is, 60 hertz screens are plenty good when it comes to phones. Now, the presence of it is nice, but the screen overall is really good, regardless of the refresh rate. The speakers are a different story, though. The bottom speakers are a lot louder than the earpiece speaker. So you're watching stuff in stereo.
Right, here we go.
There's a discrepancy between the left and right channel. It's something that bothers me, but it's not a huge deal, I don't think. The power button on the Pixel 5 is metal, or at least it looks metal, and it matches the G logo you can see in the cutout on the back of the phone. But for some reason, this metal button has a less tactile click than the plastic buttons on the 4A and the 4.
What? Wait, what? Did he just say that? The 4A 5G, the buttons are more tactile than the Pixel 5? I was also wondering about this button, the power button, the lock button, if it was metal or whatever. And I know having tactile buttons aren't the end of the world, or if one is more, but like that adds to the premium feel. You're charging $700 for the phone. It surprises me that, yes, it's a little thing. I know I might be complaining about a little thing here, but those are one of the things that I enjoy on a phone, is how good like the volume rocker is, the tactile feedback is. If you don't believe me, watch my old ass videos on the Moto X Pure, the Nexus 6P. I talk about tactile buttons all the time. I talk about haptic feedback, like that kind of stuff. I like those little things when it comes to a phone. Wow.
4A 5G. Those are more satisfying to press. The battery life on this phone is fantastic. This is a 4080 milliamp hour battery, and I'm getting a comfortable 8 hours of screen on time on this thing. Easy 8 hours with like
wow,
3/4 screen
8
brightness.
hours.
I think most people will enjoy the increased battery life with the Pixel 5. The camera. This has a fantastic camera system, as you'd expect, but it's strange that the Pixel 5 has seemingly the same hardware and software as the Pixel 4a 5G, a phone that's $200
That makes
cheaper.
sense, Days One.
But the more important conversation to be had here is just image quality. Now, a few years ago, when Pixels first started coming out with Night Sight and all their kind of software advancements in photography, they really stood out from everybody else, like from iPhones, from Samsung's phones. Like they were just so much better than everybody else. But nowadays, in late 2020, I feel like the difference between what Pixels can do and what other flagships can do is not as pronounced anymore. I will say, though, that the Pixels with their new ultra-wide lens can shoot low light.
Ooh. That makes a difference right there. Look at this. So this is the Pixel 5 Ultra, or this is the Pixel 5 Wide right here, or ultra wide.
Their new ultra-wide lens can shoot.
Oh. So this is the thing that I've been talking about as well. The camera quality on the iPhone 11 Pro, on my iPhone 11 Pro, the wide angle on there, while it's great to have a wide angle camera or an ultra wide, whatever they call it, it's not the best. I've said this many times now. The ultra wide camera on the iPhone 11 Pro, it's nice to have, but it's not perfect. But seeing the Pixel 5 here versus the iPhone 11, like look at the difference. Like this is just like soft and muddled, and everything is just like blurred together. Here's the thing. How much have they improved in terms of the iPhone 12's camera? Because I at least I've heard they've improved the ultra wide camera on there. Wow, I'm actually kind of shocked to
Ultra-wide's
see the
better
big
than
difference.
almost everyone else, but their other night sight stuff is good. Like, it's still really good, but it's not that different from everybody else right now, right? And same with shots that have high dynamic range. Pixels have traditionally done that stuff really well, but in late 2020, so is every other flagship phone. I mean, that's just competition, right? When you have one guy in the
that one
lead
looks nice,
and they're
actually.
just crushing it year on year on photography, that was Pixels. Everyone else feels the heat. They pick up the game, and now the playing ground is a lot more even. The one improvement that's most noticeable to me about these new Pixels is the video stabilization. It is weirdly smooth. It's almost gimbal-like. It's really well done. Image quality is good. So if you were shooting videos before with Pixels and you didn't like the shakiness of it, it is a lot better.
So this is something that we kind of noticed on whatever that person's video was that we watched that he pulled down. The video stabilization looked really, really good on it. My question is that video stabilization going to be the same on the Pixel 4a 5G, or is that exclusive to the Pixel 5? Is that just a Pixel 5 exclusive, that kind of video stabilization? I don't know if he talks about it here or not. I was just going to point out this thing here by this comment by Vito, but all the little things add up. So you're not crazy, Jerome. I agree with you. Yeah. And so this is also, I just want to point this out really quick. This is where the price of a phone, the little things on a phone depends on the person. Some people might not care about the under display speaker on the top being shitty, but I do. I care about tactile feedback. I care about haptics. I don't care much about refresh rate. I'm not the biggest person when it comes to display. Like, those kind of things don't bother me as much. IP68 dust water resistance, wireless charging, I don't prioritize those things as much. Depends on the person. I just wanted to point that out. Like, Vito makes a good point saying that. You know, it's interesting though, because the one thing I've been pointing out too is when Dave Lee talks about the camera and other companies catching up, like, that's so true. And that's why I keep pushing, hoping Google is going to like up their game there. At least get to the point where they're at iPhone 11 Pro, iPhone 12 level. It's nice to see this ultra wide outperforming the ultra wide on the iPhone, like the ultra wide on the Pixel 5 outperforming the ultra wide on the iPhone 11 Pro. But we'll see where it, and that, I'm sure that didn't take a lot to do, because the iPhone 11 Pro's ultra wide isn't the best. I want to see where the iPhone 12 is going to be in terms of the camera department. I talk about the camera a lot because it's important to me. I care about the camera more than almost anything else. I mean, yes, UI is up there, battery is up there, but camera, obviously, it's one of my favorite things when it comes to a phone. And that's why I start nitpicking when it comes to especially night mode on the phone, because I feel like those are the really only things that you can differentiate. Night mode and consistency. How consistent the pictures are going to show up. How good are they always going to show up? One thing that I never worry about usually with my iPhone is when I take a shot, I don't worry about it being awful. For the most part, I know that that shot's going to turn out pretty good, day or night, video as well. Sometimes with other phones, that's not always the case. All right, let's finish this
Pixel
off.
5 and even the 4a 5G this year. Now, performance on the Pixel 5 is pretty good, even with most games, but because it's a step down from an 800 series chip, this is why I feel like the phone should be priced at $600, especially with that 4a 5G available. Okay, about that 4a 5G, this is the value king, without a doubt. Like I mentioned, the same camera hardware, great screen, great form factor, and a headphone jack, $200 cheaper. You can't go wrong with this one. But the reason why I like this one personally is like the size and the bigger battery, but this small compact size is something pretty special to me. Okay.
So okay, I want to kind of like close this off. This, like, I feel like Dave and we agree on a lot of that stuff. I really like the Pixel 5 because of the form factor. I think that's a great part of the phone. I like the 4a 5G though because it's the better value. There's a headphone jack. there's a proper external top speaker. There's a lot of things I like about it. I talked about this also, is like, we just can't, it looks like there's no phone right now, at least for me, that I can check all the boxes off and say, yeah, like, it did it for me. This phone is what I want. That's the tough part. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get to that. Like, Will usually will like give me shit for that. And he's like, every phone, you're always going to find something to hate eventually that you don't like. Let's go ahead though. Let's move on because I want to see how The Verge talks about this, how they feel about the Pixel 5 and the 4a 5G.
It is Pixel time. Instead of two different sizes, well, in addition to two different sizes, this year Google made two different phones. There's the $499 Pixel 4a 5G and the $699 Pixel 5. And I'm reviewing them together because even though they have different names, they are very similar phones. I think of them as the no-frill standard phone and the kind of fancy upgrade. Just kind of fancy though. Google isn't trying to beat the flagships with the Pixel 5, and it's not exactly breaking new ground with the Pixel 4a 5G. They're good, but neither one of these is going to blow you away. Not in terms of hardware features or in terms of speed or price or even in terms of camera. But
see, it's just I really want Google to remain the camera king, and even though they will always be heralded as like one of the top best when it comes to cameras, I just don't feel like they're competing as strongly as they should.
Because Google isn't overreaching, it means that neither one of these phones is going to let you down. All right, look, we're trying to fit two phone reviews into a single video, so we should really just get to it. Google doesn't want the Pixel to be flashy. It never really has. These phones are simple and they feel simple with matte finishes and slightly rounded corners. You've got a square camera bump on the back next to a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor. The screens on both are flat with big round cutouts for the selfie cameras inside the screen. I think the design is pretty clean and classic, but
I agree.
I get that the line between classic and boring is thin, and these phones are right on that line. Now, even though the Pixel...
Do you guys feel that way? Do you guys feel that the phone is boring? Do you feel the look of the 4a 5G or the 5 is boring looking? I don't know if I would call it that. I don't... Like when I have my Pixel 4a, like, yeah, it's a black phone with a touch of color right there, but I feel like all the phones are pretty similar anyway. At least the phone doesn't have a goddamn notch like my iPhone. I don't know. Like I can call iOS 14 boring, but I just can't call a phone boring.
Pixel 4a 5G and the Pixel 5 look very similar. There are subtle differences when you start to look at them closely. Let's start with the Pixel 4a 5G. It has a 6.2-inch screen, and it's made out of plastic on the back, just like the regular Pixel 4a. It feels fairly smooth, but not too cheap. One annoying thing is that the fingerprint sensor on the back is just barely recessed, so it can be hard to find. But you do get a headphone jack. Hooray!
Minimalist.
It comes in black or white, and that's that. When you hold it up against the slightly smaller Pixel 5, you can start to see where Google saves some money on the hardware on this phone. The bezels around the 4a 5G screen are a little bit bigger, and they're not fully symmetrical on the top and the bottom. There's also the weird fact that the 4a 5G, which is the bigger phone, has a smaller battery inside. It's 30.
Who's picking this music? This music is so annoying. It sounds like I'm watching like a porno about to play. Jesus Christ.
85 milliamps as opposed to the 4080 on the Pixel 5. Now, there's a $200 price difference between these two phones, but look, they share the same processor, cameras, storage, and software. So really the only real reason to pick the 5 over the 4a 5G is that it's nicer in some fairly subtle ways. First, it just feels a little bit nicer. The Pixel 5 has a 6-inch screen and an aluminum body. But since Google likes to keep its phones really utilitarian, that aluminum is covered with this sort of plastic coating. It has a little bit more grip on the finish, which I really like. And there's some sparkle inside the paint here too. Oh, and it also has a fingerprint sensor that you can actually feel. It's just subtly nicer, like I said, including having small and even bezels all the way around the screen. The Pixel 5 technically has stereo speakers, but one of those speakers is a panel audio speaker, which works by literally vibrating the screen to make sound. It's cool for phone calls because you can put your ear wherever, but for watching...
It kind of weirds me out because like after watching Dave Lee's video, watching this sounds like I'm listening to a commercial. It sounds more like an infomercial than... I mean, I like Dieter. I just... I don't know. I don't know. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even listen to Dieter talk. I mean, listen to it. I can't even l maybe the music is just so goddamn annoying. It's so goddamn loud. I don't know if I can watch this whole thing.
Videos or playing games, it means that one of the speakers is kind of weak and tinny.
Like this is a big ass media company. And I feel like every time they put music in their videos, it's so goddamn loud. I can't pay attention to what they're saying.
You also get wireless charging thanks to a hidden cutout here underneath the aluminum. There's a high 90 hertz refresh rate screen and 8 gigs of RAM instead of 6, which is on this one. You can also get it in a sorta sage color in addition to black. I obviously prefer the Pixel 5, but again, you're paying $200 for nicer things, not really better performance. So let's talk about performance.
No, I didn't hear him. I missed it because of the goddamn
Both of these
porn
phones
music.
have a Snapdragon 765G processor, which is not Qualcomm's very fastest chip, but it might be the Qualcomm chip with the best balance of performance and battery life with 5G. Even though these phones don't have the biggest batteries in their class, they're lasting all day for me, and then some.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Dave Lee said 8 hours of screen on time. Is that what he's getting on his Pixel 5? I get about 5.5 to 6.5 hours of screen on time on my Pixel 4a, which I already feel like is super impressive, especially at a $350 price point. I don't know if I would get 8 hours. I guess it depends on everyone's usage, but we'll see when I get
on the
mine.
4a 5G, I hit 6 hours of screen time. And then on the Pixel 5, I just attacked it. I did 3 hours of GPS tracking on a bike ride. I played 2 hours of xCloud games, streaming from the cloud. I did a few hours of other stuff.
How many hours?
From 6
Just tell
a.m.
me.
to midnight with that very heavy use. The bottom line is that battery life is way better than on the Pixel 4. Google also added an extreme battery saver option, which just turns off a bunch of apps in the background unless you put them on.
Did I miss it? He said he got 6-ish on the 4a 5G? What did he get on the 5? Or was that what he was saying? I'm having trouble understanding.
I think a second battery saver option is dumb. I think it's dumb that they call it
let's get into
extreme,
the
and I think
camera
it's sad that Google thought it was necessary because battery life is fine. And so is speed and performance.
Okay.
The camera has always been the Pixel's key strength, and the new thing this year is an ultra-wide camera instead of a telephoto one. Finally. The really good news is that the cameras are as good as they've always been on the Pixel.
We knew this though. We knew that the cameras were going to be good, but I just don't know if they're going to be top notch.
But that also means that they're just as good as they've always been.
So that's the part that frustrates me. It really frustrates me more than anything else, because the one thing that I've loved about the Pixel phones is the camera. And now people are like, yeah, it's always going to be good, but it's not. Like, I feel like even though I don't own any of these phones yet, I can almost confidently say that the iPhone 12 is going to be the better camera phone. It's going to outperform the Pixel 5.
On the Pixel. There is some tweaking around with how images are tuned. There's some new features that I really do love, and some improved video, which was always the Pixel's weak spot. But the bottom line is that Google hasn't really pushed the state of the art here, and everybody else is kind of caught up. The cameras on the Pixels are really good, but then so are Apple's and Samsung's and OnePlus's. Google's sticking with what it knows, basically, right on down to the same main 12 megapixel sensor that it's been using since the Pixel 3. Google says that lets them adapt their algorithms on the same platform. So Google's pixels are still well detailed and contrasty. They still excel at night mode, but I think the results this year are just a little bit closer to what Apple and Samsung do with color. They're just a little bit more yellow than what I expect out of a Pixel, but it's still fine. Google's also made night sight automatic now, so you don't have to switch over to a separate mode to use it. But
oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay. So they're adopting like Apple style. They're just putting night sight on auto.
You can turn it on and off as you wish. It's also doing night sight for portraits, which is neat.
Hold on. Okay. So they're saying that night sight will be on automatically, but will it perform the way an iPhone does? So with an iPhone, if it's too bright, it knows not to, or it'll like adjust how much night mode you get. I'm sure the Pixel 5 will do this, right? Will that software be pushed to I'm sure it will. It'll be pushed to the older Pixels, right? That it's automatic.
You can start to see the limits of the algorithm here. In challenging conditions, the HDR effect looks just a little bit overprocessed. I also wish that the Pixel camera didn't punch in for so many of its modes. Portrait mode and video always make me take a step back to get the shot. For portraits, Google Photos has this new thing where you can adjust a virtual light source's position and intensity. It's really good, even if I don't know how often I'm actually going to use it.
That's pretty interesting.
Now, the ultra-wide, the new camera, it's fairly good. It's 16 megapixels, and like on other phones, you can see a small drop in quality, but it's not a huge drop-off. Those algorithms are still working here. Still, though, you can't shoot 4K with the ultra-wide, and another trade-off is I have to admit the telephoto quality does take a small hit compared to the Pixel 4. Now, to me, the most important upgrades ought to be in video. So the Pixel can do...
And like, I'm just gonna quickly just point out here. Yes, he said that the telephoto lens takes a small hit. Why couldn't they have just kept the telephoto? Is it that much of a cost prohibitor? How about they ditch the millimeter wave and then they just added the telephoto in there? I would have been happier with that.
Do 4K 60 finally, but not 4K 24. Google has a new default stabilization that's good enough to leave on all of the time. And unless you really try to break it, I think it works quite well.
Robert.
There's 3 other stabilization modes. So there's locked, which just keeps the image in frame and steady like the phone is on a tripod. And it's actually kind of incredible. Active is for when you yourself are bouncing around when you're walking or on a bike or whatever. And then there's cinematic pan, which is basically just slow-mo with some extra stabilization. It is really cool, but it drops you down to 1080p. Now, these stabilization modes are not the most amazing quality that I've ever seen, but they do let me pull off shots that I might not have been able to have gotten in the first place. They simplify some camera techniques.
So I mean, I don't want to go through, like, it's just a lot of porn music, and like, I'm not really feeling this video. I felt like Dave's video was a lot more honest. Didn't have like this weird production value to it. But at least from what I'm watching, it's like, yeah, camera's great, video's great, but it isn't like, it's not the like wow factor. You know what I mean? You remember when Night Sight first came out? I remember when Night Sight first came out and I made a video and I'm like, oh my God, like this just broke the fucking internet. Like that's how I felt about it. And this year it feels like, well, it looks like another Pixel phone, which isn't, I hate saying it like that because it doesn't mean that it's the worst in the world, but let's continue on. Guys, really quick, if you're in here, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Just because, like, I'm a nice guy and no, real quick, I do stream weekdays. If you're new here, I do stream weekdays at 2 p.m. Central. Feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. I stream around the same time every day at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, but we're going to get into this next video. This is,
in a
who is
year
this?
of massive upheaval and change, we
Android
have
Central.
a different kind of Pixel phone from Google. The Pixel 5, selling for $699 in the US, is the cheapest flagship Pixel in years, and the first not to use the very best Qualcomm processor. But despite this, it might also be the best Pixel ever. Take a sec to subscribe to Android Central here on YouTube, and we'll get into why that's the case in our full review of the Google Pixel 5. So if this black Pixel 5 looks familiar to you, it's probably because it's the spitting image of the Pixel 4a launched just a couple months ago. Actually, on multiple occasions over the past week, I've picked up the Pixel 4a thinking it's the 5, and not realized it for several minutes while I'm using it. That's how similar they are. But there are some key differences to note. The most obvious is the screen. The Pixel 5 has slimmer uniform bezels and a larger overall display area at 6 inches diagonally, as well as being ever so slightly bigger overall. And while the screen resolution is the same at Full HD+, the much quicker 90Hz refresh rate makes the Pixel 5 feel smoother when scrolling and more responsive to touches.
So, I just feel like that's the only time I really ever notice it. Days One, though, I think had a good comment and said he notices it when he's gaming. And I'm not a gamer, so like you have to consider that as well. If you're a gamer, like that 90 hertz refresh rate might make a much more bigger impact to you than it would for me.
It's also the first Pixel in 3 years to have an aluminium unibody, though it's coated with a special resin that means it doesn't particularly feel like metal. Don't get me wrong, the hand feel is more premium than an all-plastic handset like the Pixel 4a, Just don't expect the feeling of bare aluminium because that's not what you're going to get here. The reason for the resin coating in part is to avoid the appearance of antenna lines and also to allow for Qi wireless charging. That's another feature the 5 can boast over the Pixel 4a. Google cuts an area into the metal unibody to allow the charging coil to pick up charge. The black Pixel 5 I'm using honestly looks a little dull. It has this subtle speckled pattern on the back, but otherwise it's pretty nondescript.
I don't know. I like it. I don't think it's such a big deal. I really don't. I wish I am understanding now why it has that plastic coating or whatever, but I think it looks good. Why does this G look like it's gold and not silver or whatever?
If you're interested in a Pixel 5 that's more colorful or just less dull, you'll definitely want the greenish sort of sage model, which is much more eye-catching. Whichever Pixel 5 you buy, you'll get the same hardware loadout inside. It's powered by the Snapdragon 765.
I love everyone's video production. It's always the same shit every day. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. It's just slow pan to the left, slow pan to the right. Oh, whatever way it is. Slow pan up, slow pan down. Oh, slow pan back again. Let me voice over while we...
5G chipset,
who am I to talk? I'm just like fucking reacting to
not the highest of the high end, but enough power for most of us and appropriate for the price. That's backed up by 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. There's no 256 or higher option, which is unfortunate, but again, consider the price. Water resistance is on board too, with an IPX8 rating providing extra peace of mind. But let's be clear here, this is a cheaper Pixel at launch than the Pixel 4, and so in addition to not using the very fastest chipset, there have been some other hardware changes. The face unlock and motion sense gestures from the Pixel 4 are gone, instead replaced by a basic hole punch selfie camera and Pixel imprint fingerprint scanner. I'm not too sad to see motion sense go, considering how, well, useless it was in the Pixel 4. And as for...
I'm glad someone just says it straight out. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Did you feel like motion sense, motion gestures, whatever it's called, was useless? I've said this quite a few times, but on my Pixel 4, I never used it to the point that I disabled it because this thing was eating my battery anyway. And if it was going to save my battery, that would have worked for me. I never used it. I prefer slimmer bezels, but that's me. I do like the fingerprint reader as well.
Face unlock, the Pixel 5's rear fingerprint scanner works fine for biometric unlock duties, and gives you the very helpful option to swipe down at any time to see your notifications.
I like that a lot too.
The most important thing Google has upgraded in the Pixel 5 though is the battery. With a 4080 mAh rating, it's the biggest battery in any Pixel, and a welcome upgrade over the frankly terrible battery life of the Pixel 4. I've routinely gotten more than double the longevity of the Pixel 4 out of the Pixel 5, in some cases coming in around 7 hours of screen on time over 24 hours off the charger.
Wow, 7. Okay.
With lighter use, there's no question you could get a second day out of the Pixel 5. And the fact the battery life is so dependable makes it a bit more acceptable.
So I'm hearing like between 6.5. Dave Lee was saying he was getting 8 hours of screen on time. That's
you're
incredible.
Still stuck with 18-watt wired charging via the very same charging brick that shipped with all 4 previous generations of Pixel. Google's Pixel software continues to be a delight to use. We'll have to see how well it ages over time, but first impressions
so
are
many
very
goddamn
positive.
pan shots.
The look and
pan
feel hasn't
again
changed too much at all compared to Pixels on Android 10, but Google's continued to build out its software, services, and AI features to really differentiate the Pixel from other Android phones. The Google Assistant, of course, remains ubiquitous, with the new faster interface that's still only available on Google phones a year after the Pixel 4 launched, and the features I really appreciate on a Pixel are back too, like now playing for music identification, and live caption for transcribing any with a Pixel 5, here? But older pictures in your Google Photos library as well.
So that's
super useful if you're taking portraits in less than ideal lighting, and a great fit for the night sight portrait mode, which we'll get to later in this review. Naturally, being a Pixel, you will to a secondary ultra-wide camera at 16 megapixels. That's more in line with the competition at this price point, and both cameras can produce expectedly excellent results. Even at this cheaper price point, photos have that trademark Pixel look, and the stunning night sight mode is as good as any of the competition in very dark conditions. Plus, night sight now works with portrait mode, and it can activate automatically in darker conditions to save you manually switching. Overall quality is of course fantastic, though with a little bit of difficulty around hair in certain situations. Still, I've been really impressed. Google has 4 years of experience optimizing HDR+ for its main sensor, and especially with night sight, Google can go toe-to-toe with much more expensive competitors. General photo quality from that ultra-wide camera is decent, though without optical stabilization, photo quality can dip in darker conditions around the edge of the frame,
that
even
doesn't
with
look that
night
great.
sight. In brighter scenes, HDR Plus works its magic, and the Pixel 5 is capable of some truly amazing ultra-wide shots. One thing you'll notice compared to the Pixel 4 is slightly lower photo processing speeds, though. That's in part because the lack of the Pixel visual core in this phone. The custom Google chip used in Pixels 2 through 4 has been retired, and the Pixel 5 instead uses the Snapdragon processor's built-in neural networking capabilities, which is easier on the battery. Nevertheless, processing times are a bit slower, and that's something.
Like, I take pictures all the time with my 4A. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I have a ton of photos at Phone Jerome that I take with my 4A, almost not on the daily, but pretty regularly. And yes, the processing times are a little slower, but it's not something that, like, I don't take a photo and then it's processing so slow that it, like, annoys me. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm okay with it. It's not that bad. And I would assume with a 4A 5G or a 5 with the 765G chipset, it would be better.
Something that is noticeable. Elsewhere, Google is focused on amping up the Pixel's video capabilities, and the Pixel 5 now comes with 4K video supported up to 60 frames per second. That said, I'd find it easy to get excited about 4K video on a Pixel if the storage didn't max out at 100.
All right, listen. I don't know tech reviewers. I know Dave Lee and I know MQQHQ, and he doesn't have a video yet. I feel like Dave's was the best one. Yeah, I know. This one's pretty awful too. I get
gigabytes. In any case, Google hasn't just upped the frame rate, it's given the Pixel video camera 4 new stabilization modes.
I just want to watch the video
standard
part
stabilization, same as Pixels have always had. Active is for heavier movement, aiming to smooth out footage that might have been taken from a vehicle or while you're walking quickly. There's locked mode, which zooms to 2 times and aims to keep locked on that single spot even if you're moving around. And cinematic pan is probably the most fun of all the new video modes. Basically shoots at 60 frames per second, then slows down to 30 and adds a bunch of stabilization. And with this mode, you can capture some pretty stunning pans and other kinds of moving shots. So the new Pixel video modes are fun, but the lack of dedicated telephoto is unfortunate. You'll definitely notice the difference compared to the Pixel 4 there, as is the relatively low resolution of that main.
That'll be a good camera comparison to do too, is to do the my Pixel 4 with telephoto versus this 5.
If Google switched to something like a more modern 48 megapixel sensor, then I think these video modes would have a lot more wiggle room for zoom and stabilization.
That's true, Will. That's definitely true.
Even the front-facing camera benefits from that immense HDR Plus expertise that Google's built up over the years. It's clear Google isn't really trying to compete with something like the Galaxy S20 Ultra or Huawei P40 Pro, both of which, by the way, cost around double Pixel 5's price. So if you want super telephoto or more manual control, then those phones have you covered for a price. The Pixel's approach to photography continues to be keep it simple. And while Google is adding more features this year, especially in video, the point-and-shoot charm of the Pixel camera remains, as does its impressive overall quality.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like we're getting the same kind of consensus from everyone. Like, still a great camera, just Aiden, watch Mr. Who's the Boss. Yeah, I have that actually as my next video. Jennifer says Techspert has a Pixel 5 review as well as a comparison between all 3 pixels. That's good. I don't have that pulled up. Again, I don't know. I just fell asleep twice, this guy. So Damon, what's going on, Damon? It turns on its own, but you can selectively turn it on and off at your will. Thank you, man, for sharing that. Oh yeah, Mr. Mobile. I forget about Mr. Mobile. I forget about. I mean, I appreciate his as well. All right. I want to kind of switch gears real quick because I want to talk about this goddamn phone. So this OnePlus 8T for $750. We're gonna get into this because I want to talk about this video with this guy. And so 65-watt charging. I think it's pretty much everything that we've heard about. 120 hertz, right? So it comes with 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of UFS 3.1, and a 4,500 milliamp hour battery for $750. I don't want to sit here and get into like all of this shit for the OnePlus 8T, but that's not bad. So when I first saw this, I was like, man, $750 for 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. But for double the storage and 12 gigs of RAM, that's not bad at all. My questions for this 8T is how good is the camera? well, I'm sure performance is going to be good. I worry about Oxygen OS 11 being too far off from stock Android, but I have this video here from Mr. Who's the Boss, and it's OnePlus 8T versus Google Pixel 5. I love that this is labeled the brutal truth, because are we really going to get the brutal truth here, or are we going to get like, we'll see.
So, on paper, this new OnePlus 8T, it's so specced out that it kind of looks like it could eat the Google Pixel 5 for breakfast. For a similar price, you've got a 120Hz display versus 90, a quad camera setup versus dual, a 32 megapixel selfie camera versus 8, a high-end chipset versus a mid-range one, way faster UFS 3.1 storage, and a significantly bigger battery. And it doesn't really work the other way around. What does the Pixel have that the OnePlus doesn't? The water resistance rating? Yeah, kind of, but the OnePlus still has seals to protect against water damage anyways. The Pixel has wireless charging, OnePlus doesn't, so I guess that's a positive. But really, wired charging is way more efficient. I made a full video about that. And in that category, the 65-watt OnePlus charging kind of demolishes Pixel's 18-watt.
Does that bother you? Does that bother anyone? If your phone only has 18 watt of wired charging versus 65 watt, I know a lot of people worry about 65 watt wired charging or fast wired charging because they're worried that like it's going to, you know, cause degradation on their battery. But how fast did they say the 65 watt was going to be? 40 minutes to charge fully versus what, an hour and a half or something, or maybe even close to 2 hours on the Pixel 5. I don't worry so much about battery charging. I guess my priorities are different though.
You don't even really get the historic software advantage that Google has had, because OnePlus's software has improved to a point where I would say it's not just visually similar, but it actually offers a lot of features and granular customization that Google's doesn't. Plus, they're shipping with the same Android 11 and the same 3 years of promised software updates. The 8T really feels like OnePlus took their best phone and just turned a couple of things down. But the Pixel really feels like Google started with a budget phone and turned a few things up, but like not quite enough. It genuinely almost comes across as if Google doesn't care about the Pixel 5. And there's a couple of other things that back.
Wow, I'm surprised that he would say that. I've been watching a lot of like, or at least the reviews I've had, and for someone to just outright say Google doesn't care about the Pixel 5 sounds like some shit I would say.
How their budget phones are outselling their flagships many times over, and how they're apparently only producing something like 800,000 Pixel 5s, as if they're already preparing for it to not sell well. Plus, I was watching their launch event just feeling a bit puzzled. Google spent 20 minutes talking about their smart speaker and Google TV, and literally 8 minutes talking about their phones.
Yeah, remember?
And of
that was, wow.
I want to say 1 minute talking about the Pixel 5 itself. Now, just for a second, contrast that to OnePlus, who held a 1-hour event almost exclusively for the 8T. And the 8T isn't even their main launch this year. It's just a bit unusual. Even comparing the retail box of the two phones, it feels like we've got one scrappy company fighting to provide as much content and as unique an experience as possible at every step of the customer journey, versus a company who thinks it's just a box. Doesn't really matter what it looks like. So, as far as the...
Well, that's kind of a stretch. I mean, OnePlus is just really like, to me, every time I watch OnePlus shit, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter, like I feel like it's too much. I feel like it's too much to the point that it's cringy, but he's not wrong. That Google Pixel launch night in event was awful. Literally, they talked about the Pixel for like 2 seconds and said, let's move on because we don't give two shits about this phone. I hate saying it that way because I don't feel like Google really feels that way. Google could have done better, I think.
The mindset I had going into this, the promise of these two phones, it feels like OnePlus is ahead. But how do they stack up in practice? Well, externally, the OnePlus is fine. I'm a fan of how the color completely flips from blue to green depending on the angle you hold.
See, I'm just not a fan of big phones. Look how goddamn big that phone is. That phone is gigantic. That phone is my God. I just don't like. you know what sucks is I really want to test out the iPhone 12 Pro Max. I want to test out stabilization. I want to test out the new sensor. I want to see how good it is, but I don't want to carry a fucking brick of a phone in my pocket. I don't. Is this 8T bigger than this thing looks massive, or it's the angle that he's using it? That's what she said.
Hold it. It feels tough and well made, but it's not an all-round upgrade. Compared to the last OnePlus 8, it's bulkier, it's heavier, and they swapped the slightly curved display to a completely flat one, which makes the side bezels look thicker. Plus, they just straight up got rid of that premium matte finish in place of a more standard glossy one. If I had to guess, they've probably done this just to give people a reason to still consider the more expensive OnePlus 8 Pro. Now, while this is happening, while OnePlus seems to have become more conventional, Google's gone rogue. The Pixel 5 is remarkably small for a flagship. It's got a fingerprint scanner on the back, in a world where literally every other Android has one in the display. It comes in this super unusual, almost recycled-looking sage finish, and the whole body is made out of aluminium, which, you know, it was a popular material back in 2014, but was phased out because of how metal tends to block the transmissions your phone needs to make. But seems like they figured that out here. And I will say that, from my point of view, almost everything about the way the Pixel 5 feels, the smaller footprint, the textured finish, is spot on. Kind of like technology meets nature, minimalist vibe. But I have also asked a couple of other people for their opinion, and their consensus was that it feels light and cheap, and that it kind of looks like a bathroom tile, which I now can't unsee. So fine, the feel of the phones is subjective, but as soon as you start to pitch these two against each other in any meaningful way, doesn't look good for Google. As I guess you'd expect, the smaller battery leads to less battery life. I cycled through a whole load of apps for a couple of hours, and even though the OnePlus has a larger, slightly brighter, and higher refresh rate display, it still managed to finish on 76%, while the Pixel was left with 72%. Also, OnePlus did this all while staying at a lower temperature, thanks to...
That's interesting that he does the temperature shit, but I mean, I still feel like, why don't you just drain the battery down to 0 so we really know?
A redesigned heat dissipation system. Both have a pretty good dual speaker setup, but you can also tell that just because the OnePlus is a bigger phone, it's got more room to push air. So, it sounds a bit fuller. Have a listen.
I walk to you so I can be close to you. I walk to you so I can be close to you.
That's I mean, like, I'm watching a YouTube video, listening on my headphones, and that already just sounds so much better. Can we do that again? That's disappointing. You know why? You know why I make such a big deal about speakers is because I wear headphones all the goddamn time when I'm editing video. I like to just sometimes like chill out, not put earbuds in, not stuff shit in my ears because I go for walks and all that. And I really like I use my phone a lot for media consumption. I really do. All right.
Also tell that just because the OnePlus is a bigger phone,
one more time. I just need to hear it again.
Air. So it sounds a bit fuller. Have a listen.
I walk to you so I can be close to you. I walk to you so I can be close to you.
Plus, while I don't like making videos about specs, because really it is all about the end user experience, the Pixel can't escape from the fact that it's got a chip that is 2/3 of the power, and storage speeds that is literally half as fast. This right here is Genshin Impact, probably the best looking Android game I've ever tried, and it's completely playable at absolute maximum settings on both phones. COD Mobile, again, can be played on the Pixel with every setting cranked to the max. The frame rate dips a little every now and again versus OnePlus, but it's pretty much smooth sailing. However, you notice a performance gap in other areas. While the Pixel 5 is, it's a pretty snappy phone, the OnePlus feels quicker when doing almost everything. Searching for things, the loading of applications, processing time for photos, it's not even close. I actually handed this 8T to someone who was a user of the already fast OnePlus 8. And one of the first things they said was, oh wow, it's even faster. Oh, and if you're enjoying this video, by the way, a sub to the channel would, if that seems unambitious, and the Pixel 2 the year before that. And fun fact, this sensor is actually smaller than the one found on the very first original Google Pixel. It's more like 4-year-old hardware. And if I had to guess, I would say that of any $700 phone on the market right now, no phone has a lower cost of parts than this Pixel 5. They're good cameras though, both of them. These are both companies who are making the most of what is there. They're really taking advantage of the fact that they've spent a long time using one specific set of hardware. So each year they've managed to kind of squeeze a little bit more out of it. So if you're coming from a 3-4-year-old flagship phone, you're going to be really happy.
So like, I know that this is just like a straight up, like we're watching another video here, but even looking at both of these pictures, like you really would have to pixel peep to see what's better. This is going to be a pretty straightforward thing for any kind of day shots when it comes to camera phones. I'm just wondering how good the AT is at night versus the
These
Pixel
are reliable
5.
cameras. They're cameras which
Wow, this is a lot warmer here. Definitely a lot warmer.
you can pick a subject, snap a photo, and you can trust that it's going to be good. Sometimes the OnePlus is better. It generally gets in more detail, just being a larger, higher res sensor, and actually both in the day and in the dark, thanks to a better night mode than the last phone. And OnePlus's dynamic range algorithm is a little more aggressive than Google's, so it often does a better job of keeping bright sky from overexposing. They
That's
swapped out the
interesting.
2-megapixel macro camera for a 5-megapixel macro camera, which means you can now get close-ups that don't completely suck. And the addition of a new monochrome sensor adds a hint of additional sharpness and detail when, I should say if, you decide to capture in black and white. Sometimes, the Pixel is better. In fact, the Pixel is better in pretty much every situation that relies more on software, like when you're taking portraits, or when you take night mode shots. While it does tend to get less detail, it will always nail the color reconstruction.
That's so bad on this AT. Jesus. I mean, that white balance is completely off. I know Pixel software will usually accommodate, and it'll change that color temperature to kind of match it.
And actually even flicking to the ultra-wide cameras, while OnePlus and many other manufacturers have a kind of color shift, the Pixel doesn't. I'm not kidding, the software on this phone is borderline science fiction. If you take a photo of a face, it can create a 3D model of it and allow you to add in light that was never there. You can refocus photos you've already taken. You can eliminate color from backgrounds. It's so much fun. It's also got improved electronic image stabilization, which you can feel when walking around with it, and a new cinematic stabilization mode, which basically just slows the video down and adds artificial stabilization on top. But it works really well. In fact, never in my life have I seen software this capable on hardware this limiting. It's like Google figured out how to do magic, but then decided to only perform it at kids' birthday parties.
That's good. Yo, why are you spamming this shit? What are you doing? Why are you gonna sit here and be fucking annoying? Why do I have moderators in here, please. Jesus, stop being fucking annoying. Thank you. That's the thing. Sorry, I got annoyed. The thing is, it's like it's great. Google is amazing at software. That's something that they're great at doing. We all know that. We know that they're great at that. But why skimp on some of the like more essential hardware things? That's the thing that kind of gets to me.
So the cameras of these two phones trade blows, but this is where the comparison takes a bit of a turn. See, alongside this $699 Pixel 5, Google also announced the Pixel 4a 5G, which is basically the Pixel 5 but loses 2 gigs of RAM, the 90Hz refresh rate, an official IP rating, and wireless charging. Now, that might seem like a lot of missing stuff, but it's $200 cheaper. Oh, and this phone has a headphone jack, which neither of the two we're comparing to. So let's just talk about pricing for a second. In the US, the OnePlus 8T is $749, while the Pixel...
This is kind of a ridiculous price. I thought when I started this stream today, I thought this 8T was 128 gigs of internal storage. I mean, the fact that the 8T has double the storage, 12 gigs of RAM, has an 865 chipset. Is it an 865? Is that 865 plus? What are we? I'm so far behind now at figuring out this shit. But it kind of makes the Pixel 5 like scratch your head and why is this $700? It makes me wonder, why did I pre-order this phone at $700? Should I just wait? And I think about the speakers now. Should I just not buy a Pixel 5 and just buy an iPhone 12 Pro Max? Mother, God damn it. Oh, an 865. Thank you, Pratyush. Thank you, Vibob. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Alpha Q. Aiden. Oh, 865 plus. Which one is it? 865 or 865 plus? I didn't expect to feel this way about it. It's just so overpriced. But if there's one person that's told you that the goddamn Pixel 5 was overpriced, it's me. I've been saying this shit forever. If you don't believe me, go look at my clipped videos. I've been saying this shit forever. It isn't priced properly. Would have been better priced at $600. And even then, that's kind of a stretch. Maybe not so much of a stretch. But $700 is a fucking stretch. For sure. Goddamn Verizon with their stupid millimeter wave.
Is $699. So OnePlus is more expensive, right? Well, not really. The reason is that in the US, the only version OnePlus is selling is the top spec, 12 gig of RAM and 256 gig
I had
storage
no
option.
idea.
But in other regions like the UK, where you can buy the base model with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, like the Pixel 5 has, OnePlus is actually cheaper, which makes it a complete no-brainer. I'm not too bothered by its fast charging, but its better battery life, its 120Hz display,
I'm
the
kind of
chipset,
thinking
and the
similarly.
super fast storage are likely to mean a phone that will be fast and stay fast 3 years down the line. They have also integrated optimized charging as a software feature, which can kind of help to protect the batteries.
You're not wrong,
I'll leave a link
Will.
to the video all
You're not
about
wrong.
batteries up here somewhere. But at the same time, I think that Google's weak hardware, strong software strategy makes more and
Ashby,
more sense
probably Black
the more
Friday
affordable
is
phones
my
become.
guess.
Because in the budget and the mid-range segment, none of the competition has high-end hardware. So Google isn't getting out-competed.
Big
So
brain
while the
move,
Pixel
subscriber.
5 is decent value at $699, I'd say the Pixel 4a 5G is good value at $499, and that the normal Pixel 4a is exceptional value at $349.
So this is something that I'm kind of like, Will says next week. This is the kind of thing where I'm wondering about. Is this 4A 5G a better value than this 349 one? Because it's going to have the ultra wide. It's going to have a 765G chipset. It's going to have a bigger display. I guess I'll wait and see whenever I get the goddamn 4A 5G, because when are they supposed to ship this out? The end of November?
But just remember that in some regions, including the UK, both the Pixel 5 and the Pixel 4a 5G just don't make as much sense because of how affordable the OnePlus is. Alright, thank you so much for watching.
I was actually kind of surprised about that video. It wasn't what I expected. I don't watch Who's the Boss. I watched the TV show Who's the Boss back in the day, but I don't watch a lot of tech YouTubers. So to see that, it's like when you think this is what I've talked about though in the past with like the Pixel 4a 5G at $499, the Pixel 5 at $700, and then you have all these other phones that are competing, right? The Galaxy S20 Fan Edition, but the fact that there are deals on the Galaxy S20 all the time, there are deals on OnePlus phones. I don't know what the OnePlus 7T was pricing at, what, $400? Such a cheap price. That Pixel 5 at $700 needs to drop in price, definitely. Okay, it's an 865 Android 11. I still haven't used Oxygen OS 11 to see how good that is yet. Oh shit, Will, you want the link? Well, I might be calling it, man. I'm kind of done. Guys, I see you guys want me to put another video, but I'm not. We don't. It's too late at this point. OnePlus and Samsung Fan Edition killing Pixel with price and specs. It is. I kind of want to like tie this up because we can sit and say this shit on paper is just on paper. It doesn't really make a difference. But it's about the experience. It's about the experience on a phone. That's really what matters. And like, I am a Pixel guy through and through. I appreciate Pixel phones. I appreciate stock Android, but maybe the 4A 5G is just the better price point now. JD says, so is it software or features? Is it that y'all both in the Pixel line? Hi, JD. I'm not exactly sure what you mean here. Software is what leads Google for a long time. Updates, all that kind of shit, but it is hard to swallow that price. It's definitely hard to swallow that price. Still sucks that Google thought that good speakers aren't important. I don't know why they just, God damn it. MKQHQ made his video. All right. Just because I want to see how he feels about it. Oh my God. All right. All right, let's watch it. Let's and then we're gonna call it. Let's watch this shit.
Hey, what's up? MKBHD here. Techtober's getting pretty real, right? This is my very first, like, really truly first look at Pixel 5. Yeah, FedEx took their dear sweet time with this one. I don't know how they always managed to find the worst possible package to lose that one. But anyway, one lost package and a lot of waiting later.
Of all people that needs to complain about not getting his shit, he's the last person. This happened one time out of how many times? You get your phones like 6 months in advance. You know he has the Pixel 6. He's probably making it. He's probably there at Google right now making it.
Let's get into it. So the story with this phone is that it's a flagship, but not a flagship. So what do I mean by that? Well, this is the highest end phone Google is putting out this year. We saw the Pixel 4a, we saw the 4a 5G, and this is the Pixel 5, and there will be no Pixel 5 XL. This is it. This is the best phone they'll offer. But at the same time, it has a Snapdragon 765G instead of the highest end available chips. It's got 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of non-expandable storage. It doesn't have tons of bells and whistles, and there's a 90 hertz display again instead of 120. And
like, I'm not gonna, let me go back to this shit. I'm not gonna lie. I like watching a lot of these videos today. Like Will said, it kind of like, it blows the wind out of my sails. How is that? The air out of my balloon, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's a bit frustrating as a Pixel owner, as a Pixel fanboy. It's like, yeah, it's great, but it's not perfect, blah, blah, blah. But then I see this and then I like look at this form factor and I'm like, I'd still rock one. Who am I kidding? I'd probably still
90 hertz display again instead of 120. And so the result, maybe the most interesting part about this, is the price. $699. So yeah, okay. In a world of all these phones flying north of $1,000, $2,000, the highest end Pixel phone, $700. So my question going into it is, will I care or even notice that the flagship bells and whistles type stuff are missing from this phone? Because Google's going to put the best they can in this phone for the price, because they don't make a better one that they have to protect. How good is it? And do I care about the differences? So this video is just my first look and impressions of the trade-offs that they've made. Or actually, I'm not going to call them trade-offs. I'm going to call them cuts. They're intentional cuts. Last version, high-end, was $900.
Welcome to the stream.
This one is $700. They've made cuts. So getting my hands on it for the first time, it's already a little different than most of the other phones coming out. And that number one thing is this body is made entirely of recycled aluminum. So it's a unibody metal. And then it has this soft touch feel to it in this sage green color you can see here. And so that to me feels like this
big brain moves,
sort of coating
YouTube user,
over the top of the metal. So technically the build is a metal body, and that's sweet. No seams, unibody, just one piece, shiny button. But it doesn't necessarily feel like metal. Like it's not cold to the touch or anything. It feels like hard plastic, which isn't a bad thing. And there's even a tiny little bit of texture you can feel on the back if you rub your finger across it, but it's subtle. But there's a couple more interesting things about this metal build. One is it still has wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. Now, as you may know, wireless charging works through glass and through plastic, but not through metal. So it seems
who uses reverse wireless charging? Anybody? Anybody? I'm sure people do. I just don't use it. I've never really like found I guess I always have a connection somewhere or I'm charged up. I've never used reverse wireless charging.
Seems like there's got to be some sort of a cutout back here on the back of the phone to allow that to happen. And then number 2, there is water resistance on this phone. So this phone will survive a little rain or a splash. And then number 3, there's also no more squeeze.
Who does? What the fuck? Who does water
And
resistance
number
testing
2,
like
there
that?
is water resistance on this phone. So this phone will survive a little rain.
Hey, this phone does water resistance. Here's some water. Look, water resistance. What kind of bullshit is that? What is that? Don't do that. Just don't do that. Just say it's water resistant. Don't run a faucet next to it and then like touch the water with one finger. What
Rain or
am I
splash.
seeing here?
And then number 3, there's also no more squeeze sensitivity on the metal body. So that squeeze for assistant feature from the previous 2 years of Pixel is cut. And you know what else is cut?
I've never used that squeeze feature,
Soleil.
honestly.
The radars and those sensors that were up in the front of Pixel 4 and 4 XL are gone. So the face unlock and the gestures that you would have had aren't here anymore.
Will.
That's a good cut. I feel like we got some things back from that. Now, they did toss back a fingerprint reader on the back of the phone, which to me has been the safest, best place to put a fingerprint reader, and it is super fast. Love that. And then cutting all that hardware out of the top has also left us with thin, uniform bezels all the way around the phone, which look way better. This is honestly, I'll say it's the best looking front of a Pixel phone in years, which maybe that's not saying much coming from the line that gave us asymmetrical bezels and the bathtub notch.
He's not wrong though. He's not wrong. Out of all those Pixel phones, this is the best front-looking display on a Pixel phone. At least they got that right. They could have left a little bezel on the top for an external speaker. My 2 cents. That's how I feel about it.
But Pixel 5 is a good-looking, clean front of a phone for 2020. Only caveat here is you'll notice, if you look very closely, there is no normal earpiece speaker at the top of Pixel 5. And we've seen this before. So Pixel 5 looks to be doing that vibrating speaker underneath the glass.
Am I weird? Why does he keep saying, why isn't he saying the Pixel 5? Am I weird with that? When I talk about my, I don't know. It's sounding weird to me.
Last thing. So my first impression of hearing and feeling it, because you can sort of feel it vibrate the top of the phone, is it isn't as strong of a stereo image with that bottom speaker if you really like listening to music very loudly, but it's not the worst thing in the world and it works just fine, especially as an earpiece. And
I have a hard time trusting how he says that shit because I don't know how he really feels about it. It's not the best, but it's usable. It works. But like, tell me how you really feel about the earpiece on the top. Does it suck? Do you know MKQHQ uses like 18 million phones. He would know of all people how good that earpiece is. I wish he would tell me, but this year's Note 18,000 works a lot. Tell me. Don't just be like, that would be like me giving you a review. Yeah, it makes phone calls. It's fine. You can make a phone call on it. You can hear people on the other end. They can hear you when you talk. Like, how is that useful for anybody? That isn't useful for fucking anyone.
then last but not least, getting rid of that Soleil sensor array also made room for more battery inside the phone. So Pixel 5, despite being smaller than the Pixel 4
5
XL, has a much bigger 4080 milliamp hour battery, up from 3700. Now again, this is my first impression. It's my first 2 days with the phone, so my battery has been pretty good so far, but that's something I'll be keeping an eye on. But yeah, I can't be mad at more battery. Like, that is significantly impressive for a phone that's actually smaller than the previous footprint. But we all know the cameras are the real draw of the Pixel phone, and they have been for a few years. We have again here the same 12 megapixel sensor from the last few years of the Pixel, and it's joined this time by an ultra wide. So they've doubled back on the whole ultra wides are fun, but telephotos are a more useful stance. So we finally get a Pixel ultra wide now. And I've been looking forward to seeing what Pixel 5 cameras could do, both on the regular camera, because they've stuck with this winning formula for so long that the rest of the smartphone world's kind of starting to catch up. So I was looking to see, would they have anything
starting to catch up? I think they're there. Are they not?
changed to stay ahead. And then the ultra wide, because I was waiting for so long to see what Google could do with an ultra wide and night sight and all their image processing on an ultra wide, because frankly, I thought they'd do it best. So definitely some really good photos coming out of this phone so far, but stay tuned, especially on Twitter.
Yeah, real quick, because I'm seeing William ask that. Yes, there's a completely new main sensor. OIS on top of that. There's a lot of shit, I think, with that 12 Pro Max. I want it, but I also don't want to carry a gigantic brick in my back pocket. Well, I don't put my phones in my back pocket, my front pocket. But yes, sorry, just had to point that out. The iPhone 12 is looking kind of interesting at this point.
Twitter, and then for the full review for those photo samples as I take them. And really the biggest changes that they've actually promised from this camera were for video. And so far I'm mostly noticing just stabilization smoothing, like a lot of it. And this of course will get more testing, but for as long as photos have been a high point for Pixel cameras, video has been a notoriously lower point. So my attention is definitely peaked here. But yeah, this is the daily now. My SIM card is in it. I can test it, and we'll see if I can be totally fine living daily with a 765G phone.
Real quick. So we've watched a couple videos now. They talk about the video stabilization on the Pixel 5 and how it's better. Video stabilization, cinematic panning, whatever other software, trickery, magic they have in it, it's great. But has anyone said if this video stabilization applies to the Pixel 4a 5G, or is this exclusive to the Pixel 5? Anybody? Please let me know in chat, because I have no idea if that improved stabilization works on the 4a 5G, or if it's just for the 5.
Without all the bells and whistles of the flagships with in-screen fingerprint readers and 120 hertz. And then also, as I got this phone in the mail from FedEx finally, I asked you guys what you wanted to know on Twitter, and I got some interesting ones. So what's the feel in the hand, and does it feel like aluminum or not, and how's the size? I keep saying this is a small phone. It's smaller even than the smaller iPhone 11. So it's not mini or anything, but it's a small phone. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't feel like aluminum. It's not cold to the touch or anything. You feel the plastic. How does it feel to be the last tech reviewer to receive it? FedEx, man.
Get the fuck out. Nobody gives two. Well, I guess somebody does.
FedEx Express. If camera doesn't exist in any phone, then Pixel can be seen as a better competitor? Oh, I think what they're asking is basically if you took away the cameras, like would the rest of the Pixel be competitive with the rest of phones?
What?
Which, that's an interesting question. I actually think that's part of why Google is leaving that $1,000 flagship space. Like they tried for the last few years, that $900, $1,000 phone thing didn't really compete very well, didn't sell very well. I think this is their admission that they can't compete up there and that they need to try $600, $700 phone and do well there. Now,
that sounds like, to me, it's like they can't make the NBA, so they're going to try their shot at the D League instead. That's what that sounds like to me. That's exactly what that sounds like to me.
I think I'm going to still wish this by the end of my review, but I still wish that they made a beefier flagship version with 120 hertz and the biggest, baddest chip and the most RAM and some extra features tossed in there.
How about a better camera?
We'll see. Oh, and how fast is the phone with the pictures and the assistant without Pixel Neural Core? So that's another thing that they took out of the previous Pixel. There is no dedicated image processing chip on this phone. So there is a little bit more time to snap photos and process them again.
Daily.
Here's how long it takes to snap a regular photo, which is actually not so bad. But if you're taking a night sight or something that requires more stitching, there can be a little bit more processing, which again, might not feel as premium, but that's what you get by cutting the neural core. But anyway, there you have it. We'll get right into the full review process, and I'm sure that will be coming up pretty soon, along with all the other stuff coming.
All right. MKQHQ, everybody. You're welcome. You're welcome. You guys could have gone to his channel to watch it, so I appreciate you stopping by here to, spend some time here. Guys, I don't know how I feel about the Pixel 5 right now. I feel all certain kind of ways. The 4a 5G sounds more tempting at this point. The 4a is still my favorite phone because it's all I really have. Is the 4a 5G going to be better for the price? I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. I'm still kind of really surprised about the OnePlus 8T selling for $750 with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage. We'll see. The iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I think, are the two phones that I'm kind of looking into at this point. I don't know. Guys, I know there's a ton of people in here. I'm very thankful for everyone who's in here to come watch me watch other videos and give my point of view when it comes to tech. But we got to wrap this up. If you guys have a chance, please hit that thumbs up button. I do stream weekdays at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Also, if you that's all I got. I was going to talk about something else, but I think that's it for today. So guys, come back tomorrow, 2 p.m. We'll do it all over again. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. Oops. There you go. Yeah. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Later.